Thundercat's in it as a Jedi tattoo artist, switching out limbs.
Not a Jedi, but that would be even better.
Okay.
Oh my God, Dave, you just came with a Jedi tattoo artist. There it is. Like that's just a little mini lightsaber.
The tattoo gun is just like
a tiny lightsaber in his hand.
tiny lightsaber.
The size of a pen.
Awesome. Awesome. That needs to happen.
Welcome to the B-Sides and Beers podcast.
Welcome to B-Sides and Beers, episode 85. Tonight we're talking virtuoso bassist, singer, and multi-Grammy Award winner, Thundercat. What's going on, guys?
Thundercat is go.
Thundercat.
Thundercat is go.
That's Thunderbirds. Come on.
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, you know what? We haven't done a share and subscribe and a shout out and all that stuff. So if you haven't done so, let's do that. You guys share it up. Let's do this because we got to get this off the ground again. You know, I'm listening to some podcasts, man. People are talking about, you know, offering advice to other people. They have no training, and it's just that's the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm like, why am I listening to this ad in my ears right now as I'm weeding my driveway? I'm like, who are these people? I don't even understand how they get to, you know, we're talking about music, we're talking about beer. These guys are talking about nothing, and they're on.
I'll tell you why, Mike. It's because you have ADD and you're autistic. So you better
Yep. All right.
You better listen up.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you very
You
much.
better feel inadequate.
I do.
You better get your ass to the doctor and get pilled up,
All right.
man, because that's what it's all about.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Perfect. I just say, you know what? If not, why not us? You know what I mean? When I hear that in my ears, I'm like, what is this? These people have no training, nothing.
Why not?
Like, anyway.
Why
So
not? I love it.
So share it. So subscribe, share it around. It's a good podcast, so listen to it. What are we drinking?
And make sure you eat vegan.
Yeah, and eat vegan and take our advice because we don't know what we're talking about. That was a rant, man. I was like, sorry about that.
Whew, I feel better.
Well, I do. I heard it, and I'm like, what? I can't even believe this. Can't even believe this right now. So, enough of me though. What are you guys drinking? Dane, what are you? You're up.
Dane, you go.
I have a Strange Fellows Guardian IPA.
Oh yeah,
Which
I like that
is-
can.
Oh, it's great. Everything is great about this. There's a long story here about guardians and heroes and citrusy dry hopped, and a salute to champions everywhere, basically.
Yes.
Just fantastic. These guys are out of East Van.
Yeah.
And hell yeah, it is a really nice, it's not a punch you in the face IPA. It's just a great little, what are we at here? A 6.5, something like that. 6.5%.
Yep.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yep.
Excellent.
And I will follow that up with a Driftwood Crimea River Gose. Gose.
Crimea River.
What?
Oh,
JT, gotcha. Good one.
The gas. Do you like the gas?
Yeah, shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like drinking sours, but I want to, taste. I want it to feel like it's summer in my mouth a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I want that kind of, crisp, clean,
Tartness.
tart. Yep.
Glacier Fresh.
Fresh.
What other advertising mumbo jumbo lingo?
Triple filtered.
Filtered.
Ice filtered.
Yeah. Mike, what do you got?
Let's see. I have a new offering from Parallel 49 Brewing out of Vancouver. And we have some nice, fresh, new artwork from our dude, Steve Kitchen.
Hell yeah.
And this is their Cherry-O. It is a cherry cola sour, 4.8%.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
that's fun.
Yeah, new release. It's I haven't opened it yet. Stoked for it. So
That's wicked, man. What's that
Yeah,
cherry
so with
holding?
that
Is he
one,
holding
and-
a match?
it's like looks like a cherry bomb. Oh no, he's got a pipe. So he's got a match in one hand, and it looks like he's got a pipe in the other hand.
He's got a cherry
Awesome.
bomb.
It looks very cherry bomb-ish to me. So yeah,
Awesome.
Matching
way
up.
way to go, Steve Kitchen.
Sweet. That's a great
Crushing
drawing.
it as always.
That's great.
Crushing it as always. And the other one is a Caribou Lager.
Oh yeah, I don't have I seen the lager before. I don't know if I've seen that.
It's around. I think it's relatively new within the last year or so. But yeah, it's like any of their other offerings. It's still delicious and very inexpensive. So
Yeah.
And speaking of delicious and inexpensive, 30% sneakier. I'm going with Sneaky Weasel.
Nice.
Sneaky Weasel.
Weasel.
Also reasonably priced and excellent. And Mike, I'm going kind of on your line too, but I'm going back because it's in my store. But I got to go with the Peach
Yes.
Pod. I feel like they need
Peach
to have
Pod.
like Steve Kitchen needs to have maybe like a battle against some of these guys, like Peach Pod against Cherry O, or like Jerkface
Yes.
9000 against like, I don't know.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
like to have a battle against each other. Who would win in a battle of each of those? But that's what I'm drinking tonight. Yeah, those
Love it.
those two guys right there.
Solid.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, Thundercat. Mike, this is your pick.
Thundercats. Yes, this is my pick.
Yeah. Good one.
This is a cat that I really didn't know anything about up till about, 6 months ago or so. And I found him through a concert series. It is on the NPR Music.
Nice.
Yeah, so they've got this concert series. It's Tiny Desk Concerts.
Oh yeah.
And so the one that I first stumbled upon, and he wasn't even he wasn't on the main title of it, but it was him and Mac Miller.
Yeah.
So it was like this 20-minute, doing like five songs or whatever, and listen to the Mac Miller part, and it's solid. And then this dude comes out, and he's a character. Like he just popped on the screen, and he comes out with this massive semi hollow body Ibanez 6-string bass, and it's like, what is this? And so he plays his deal, and right after that I start doing some digging, and he's got some more he's got like 4 albums out, and just really catchy, kooky videos, man. He's just he's unreal. So I figure he was worth more than worth talking about. So
Yeah,
Definitely.
totally different guy. And I was going to ask you guys about this bass. Like, what I haven't seen a bass like this before, and like, have you guys ever played anything like this or seen anything like this?
no, as far as I can, from my digging, as far as I can tell, this is a specific signature bass.
Yeah. This is a custom shop. Ibanez.
Yeah.
Does Ibanez
Yeah.
usually make a hollow
So-
body?
They make hollow body guitars from time to time. They have like a small artist run,
Yeah.
but I haven't really seen any bass like that. And this one's a really cool setup. It's a hollow body electric bass. It has piezo pickups in it, so it can sound acoustic. It has MIDI pickups. It has just a full mix of options and hundreds of switches, and
Yeah.
it's killer, man. It is so cool.
It looks expensive.
Yeah, it's like over 10
Yeah.
grand.
Oh, I'm
If
sure.
you want one,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I thought I was going to ask you guys about it because I thought maybe it was like something that Ibanez did lots of, and I didn't know about it. But
Nope. And that's another thing with Ibanez is it's very rare that they'll do a custom guitar for an artist.
That's true.
Like you have to be with them for a very long time, and even then they're not really going to change their body shape much, or like you can't put a lot of interesting, unique details to it. But it seems they've opened the door for Thundercat, so that's that's rad.
yeah. And this was
It's interesting.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was just gonna say that this is a guy that I listened to it, and it's like it was like jazz, but like when I saw that he won Grammy for progressive R&B, I was like, that's kind of exactly what this sounds like. It's progressive
Yeah.
R&B, right? it was just nailed it. And usually those genres are like, come on, like what is you're not in this genre, right? But
Bob Seger's not metal.
right? It's like, what is this all about? In the metal category tonight. But yeah, it kind of nailed it, right? Because I listened to that It Is What It Is album. That was kind of like the first one.
Yeah.
But I kind of got, it was like a little bit of Rick James, a little Miles Davis. Like it was just like, but at the same time, like, I don't know if I got it. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where I'm like, it feels like he's one of those guys that I listen to and I'm like, I don't get it, but I feel like I might get it later, and it's on a different level. It feels like for me.
I'm kind of surprised with that, because listening to his 4 albums, one of the first things that popped in my head is like, this is up your alley for the groove. This is something definitely that you would have had on a deep dive for the past 8 years or something.
It's like almost like a kind of like a Frank Zappa for me, where I was like,
oh, definitely.
I don't know if I know what's going on right now in some of these parts, right? And like, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, it took me on a totally different level and a different trip than listening to something that's 90s punk that's right in your face from a couple weeks ago,
totally.
right? So yeah.
He's kind of like staring at a painting, like, or another way I can describe it is like rolling your car underwater, where it's like that time signature. It's like, it's kind of like it pushes you around a little bit. It takes a little bit of effort to figure it out, but it feels good doing it.
Yeah.
And the more you listen to him, the more you understand it.
Yeah.
And the more you focus on it, and just watching his live performances, at how busy his fingers are and how all over his fretboard it is. I just it's something.
Oh, it's unbelievable, man. It's like watching like Montreal Jazz Fest, like on some of those things, right? Where it's just like they're going off doing some stuff, and I'm like, wow, like there's a lot going on here, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
But not.
Did you guys get into? Did you guys get into any Flying Lotus?
I listened to one album of his. It's good.
You're Dead. That one.
I think so.
Yeah. That was
Whatever,
my
it was
introduction to
good.
Thundercat was You're Dead. And for some reason I thought he was Flying Lotus, but obviously I got that wrong. But his influences definitely throughout that entire album, and it's really good. I've listened to that album 100 times at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and Suicidal Tendency is another band that we talked about before too, right? And that coming up, and like it feels like I didn't know this again, right? Like, and he was in there for a long time. Like
He was? Really?
Yeah, like 10 years.
Really?
So he was only in the studio for one album, 13. It's not on Spotify, but I had to do some major searching online, and I finally found a really crappy, overcompressed version of the album to listen to it. But so I guess he started off with Suicidal Tendencies when he was still in high school.
Wow.
And so I mean, he popped out of there and he toured with them for almost 10 years and only did one album with them. And this thing didn't come out until like 2 years after he left the band. So he performed on it, and they never released it until a couple of years later. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it seems like a cool fit too. I mean, they're both, L.A. region and in the same circles. Why not, right?
Yeah, it was just funny. Another one of those bands that kind of came around full circle, right? When I read that, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. There's another connection of ones that we've done before, right?
Yep.
But
I read a little part here where he was talking about how playing shows with Suicidal, how the fans were very unreceptive to it, or very negative to his playing, because it was so busy and so it wasn't very straightforward, and it was over the top fancy, and he kept wanting to gear down a little bit, and Muir ended up pushing him, and go play more, and people are throwing shoes at him, and they whatever, and he's just having a blast, and lead singer's just pushing him to do more, and that was kind of funny.
Yeah, and he's been doing like lots of soundtracks too. Hey, like he's been doing a ton of work, kind of, and lots of, like, I'm finding, like, featuring THUNDERCAT. Like there's lots of that.
Yeah.
Like he's not
Major session
Yeah,
work, yeah.
he's just kind of joining on. He was with Gorillaz, like
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar. Like he's kind of been doing, and he was with Silk Sonic there too. He was doing some stuff with them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's kind of doing everything with everybody, and that's kind of the best. Feels.
Yeah, and being fortunate enough to work with Erykah Badu and Questlove and Madlib on one of her albums, and to be singing on some tracks, playing on other tracks, assisting in writing and production on other tracks. Same thing you were talking about with Kendrick Lamar on To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
He was he's all over that thing with vocals and productions and bass. So I mean, it's to be able to sit in a room with other session players and other like with Questlove, being able to just get in there. You're a teenager basically, or you're super young, and it's like, okay, go. And to be able to sit in there and to make that album better because you're there is, there's a reason why he's won Grammys, and because quite often I shake my head and I don't understand how it is that these people are winning any awards, and then there's the behind the scenes guys that are basically spurring everything on and doing the major work that you never hear about, and in this case you get to. So
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing actually from that side of it, where you got a guy who's doing almost everything, right? Like he's pretty much laying the whole thing down. But I mean, you can tell that the guy is so talented. Like you look at those live performances, and this guy can play. Like this is no question about it, right? And he comes from a long line of that too, from his family. It sounds like there's been lots of influence from his family. Was lots of music in there. So he comes from that, but that helps.
His brother was also in Suicidal.
I don't recall.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I don't recall that.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I would imagine his family's musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a unicorn. It's almost like that's what you need these days. I can't imagine being a musician and you're just sort of like a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta have like the producer side of things. You gotta have the, your thing, which is your, his calling card, I guess, is his bass playing. But I mean, you gotta kind of have to be on the other side of things too, behind the curtain. In order,
there's a million different people doing one thing. There's infinite amount of great guitar players, an infinite amount of great bass players and drummers, but you got to be able to sing, and you got to be able to do this to stand out in the crowd.
And it's interesting, someone who has won, he's won 2 Grammys,
two or three.
2 or 3 Grammys. He's collaborated with some huge names, Kendrick Lamar, Mac Miller, and he's still kind of under the radar, right? Like, yeah, it's interesting how someone like that, who and maybe it's like because he's not necessarily playing pop music. Like, I'm trying to figure it out. He's like, his appearance is super loud and in your face. I mean, everything about him is kind of like
You can't miss him.
attracts attention, but for some reason he flies under the radar.
Yeah, he's like, kind of like Flea. I got that sense, like wild and wacky, kind of like that, but like also kind of like I said, like Rick James, like, kind of the black bass player and like that kind of thing too, right? But he's also got that kind of Prince thing, but all those are connected, like it's all a little bit of a mashup of different things. But yeah, no, he's kind of, he's not right out there, but he sure is, pretty noticeable when you see him, right? So, but an interesting guy to listen to in an interview as well, right? Like he's very well spoken as well, and he knows what he's talking about. So, watching a couple of interviews with him too, it's just always interesting when you kind of do these, start with these guys where I don't even know really much about him. Like I've heard him, watched him, but like, you start the whole process of unpeeling it, and you're like, all right, I'll start with your music, then I'll start with your, live stuff, and then I'll watch your interviews, and then I'll go back and watch more live stuff, and it's just kind of this process. You just take this apart, and you're just like, all right, what are you all about? So
Yeah. And that's one thing I liked about this project is not really knowing anything about him and having to do extra digging, because what am I going to talk about for 30 minutes on this cat, right?
Yeah.
And it's super interesting, and like you said with the interviews, it was, he's very well spoken and very intelligent, and he knows his shit, and I love how it kind of he weaves humor and absurdity into everything that he does musically, and it just pops.
Yeah, that Tame Impala track too that he did. I don't know if you guys listened to any Tame Impala before, but it's like
No, not before.
yeah,
this, no.
it's like you just have to listen to it. But it's kind of it's kind of like easy listening kind of stuff. So it fits in. It's nicely. His bass playing is perfect with it. So when I saw his collaboration with him, I'm like, oh, and it's kind of funny because it's like an impala chasing a cat, like a big like Thundercat kind of thing. So it's like the reversal of it.
The reverse. Yeah. Okay. I saw that.
The album cover. Yeah. So, but
yeah, it's interesting. So I just pulled this up on Wikipedia. His mother, Pam, was a flautist and a percussionist, and his father played drums for the Temptations, the Supremes, and Gladys Knight.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so there's some connections probably right there that probably don't hurt.
Yeah. Definitely the pedigree's there with that. That's killer.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like one of the Motown like guys behind the guy kind of thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? Like, yeah, he is sort of like that guy behind the guy, and like I was saying, flying under the radar. But man, his style is so distinct. It's like one of those things where if you're a musician and you play 4 bars and someone knows who you are, he's definitely one of those musicians. And every time I listen to him, my brain shoots back to like that time when I listened to Flying Lotus, like on repeat back in 2014. It's like it is him. Yeah. And that's something which is super rare these days, with everything kind of blending together and all sounding the same.
Yeah. And vocally too, right? Like that's another thing that's kind of interesting about him is that, he's got a completely different style vocally, and he can sing obviously very well, but it's just in a totally different way than I've ever heard anything, and that's the best way I can kind of sum this whole thing up, is that it's like nothing I've ever really heard before, right?
Bee Gees.
Yeah, like it's a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Not as much falsetto, but there's lots of falsetto in there, it just yeah, it's just got a different thing to it, but lots of different time signatures too that mess me up, that I'm like, this is
all over the
like
place.
Zappa, man. I don't know what's going on right now.
Yep.
But I should probably like this. It's really good. It's really good. But what does this guy do in concert? Like, does he tour himself?
Well, he's got 4 solo albums, so I figure he just has his, he hires a
Yeah.
band and go.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't check out any tour information for him, so I don't know if he's probably doing something this summer. But interesting cat for sure. And I'd like to hear more. Like, it feels like this is kind of the tip of the iceberg for me, because I've listened to all of his stuff this week, but I need to hear like what he's going to do next, almost, because I don't know if I could take on more. you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's like watching a good movie that you got to pull apart rather than just an Adam Sandler offering. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know what you're gonna get, and that's fine. But like, you know what I mean? Like, something that you actually have to think about and pull apart. That's kind of what this feels like for me.
It ain't no Little Nicky.
No, and nothing against Little Nicky, but
That's terrible. Probably one of the worst movies ever.
Yeah. It's probably one of those where you're like, it was so bad back then, but it's probably so good now. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's one of those where you're like, oh, I remember this show was so awesome when I was a kid, and you watch it now, and you're like, this is trash. Maybe it's the other way around.
We watched one of those the other night, Mars Attacks.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that movie from like
I love
96?
that movie.
Jack Nicholson.
Everyone is in
Yeah.
it. Jack Nicholson plays 2 characters. There's like Michael J. Fox, Pierce Brosnan,
Johnny Depp in there.
you name it, they're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's bad.
It was great.
Oh, was
It's
it bad?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. The aliens are just dicks and just kill everybody.
Yeah. Love that movie.
Yeah. How did you get onto that? How did you pick that movie? That's random.
We actually have cable just because it's whatever. I like watching TV.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I'm the only person that will admit that I like watching TV. And when you go way up into the 400s, there's like the movie channels, and there's like the ones from the 50s and the ones from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was on one of those ones. It was like the 90s something.
I have it on DVD. So
Oh, you do?
on my wall of DVDs.
Oh, okay. Kira's listening to me right now. So we got Jack Nicholson, Sarah Jessica Parker, Christina Applegate, Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
It's great. We were just like watching the opening credits. We're like, this is insane. This is going to be interesting. And it was.
Nice. It's just the randomness of that I love.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because you can spin that off to back to Thundercat with the Book of Boba Fett. Have you got into the whole Mando and the Book of Boba Fett yet?
No, I was hoping you were going to tell me about that though, because I read that and I was like, "What's it all about?" He's in it though, right? Like, he's got a cameo.
He's in it. He's a
Oh,
character
really?
that they brought in to be a relatively I would assume they're gonna write him into some more episodes, but he's his character's called the Modifier, where he's like this tattoo artist, but he's also like it's almost like a Ghost in the Shell, where you're switching out human body parts for droid parts, and it's pretty rad. So
Okay, so Book of Boba Fett is that another show now?
yes, so it's a spin-off from Mandalorian.
Disney, come on.
Okay, so it's a spin-off of The Mandalorian? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So their stories intertwine at times, but anyway, Book of Boba Fett. It's not great, but
Thundercat's in it as a
he's good in
Jedi
it.
tattoo artist, switching out limbs.
not a Jedi, but that would be even better.
Okay. That's
Oh my god,
He's
Dave,
not
you
a
just came up with a Jedi tattoo artist. There it is. Like, that's this is a little mini's lightsaber.
The tattoo gun is just like
a tiny lightsaber in his hand,
a tiny light.
the size of a pen.
Oh, awesome. That needs to happen.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Darth Vader voices right before this podcast started too, so
That's right.
Yep.
It was inevitable.
yeah, it was gonna come around.
So,
Ay, ay, ay.
ay.
Yeah. Well, hey,
There we go. Wait, wait. A year later, he joined his brother Ronald Jr. as a member of the Los Angeles crossover thrash band Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, there you
There
go.
you go.
He played with his brother.
That's
Just thought I'd throw that in there.
There you go. Confirmed.
All right, we want you guys to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. Keep it going, keep it strong, because we're having a great time entertaining you guys with B-Sides and Beers podcast.